Hey, this is Ricky Romero. You're listening to The Walk Off with Scott and Adam.
We are so excited to be joined by today's guest. No stranger to Blue Jays fans, starting pitcher for the Jays from 2009 to 2013, and the host of the Let's Go Ricky Road podcast, Ricky Romero. Welcome to the Walk Off, man. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing?
Very good.
So good, man. We are so excited to talk some baseball and some Blue Jays with you. So to start with, though, I do want to say big congrats in order here. You are now a member of the MLB Network Radio on Sirius XM. Very cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's an opportunity that I'm obviously very excited for. Anytime you get to talk baseball, and I enjoy watching the games as much as I can with three little ones running around. But it's exciting. It's an opportunity for me to continue to grow as as a media guy now, and
Yeah.
get the reps in and yeah, I mean, we'll see where it takes me. I'm just living day by day with it, and yeah, it's an opportunity that presented itself and I couldn't turn it down. And obviously when you're working for ML anything related to MLB network, it's obviously pretty cool.
I mean, you've been dipping your toes in the broadcast and the analyst side of things for a couple years now. What is it that attracted to you to this side of the game?
Honestly, I never thought I'd be able I turned into that side of the baseball world. Obviously I wanted to stay in the game somehow, some way, and that didn't happen. Um, and when the opportunity presented itself, we started the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast. And I feel like that kind of opened some doors, and I became more and more interested in um in talking baseball and being able to show the audience like what's going through a pitcher's head or what's going through a hitter's head, routines and tempo, and anything that's relatable to baseball. And when the opportunity presented itself, obviously we did the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast, and then Sportsnet called me for the Vancouver Canadian opportunity, where I did, like, I think six broadcast games, and that was a different experience itself. I feel like if I went back and look at those tapes, I would hate the way it sounds, because I've learned so much
Of course.
from the media side and doing things differently. So but the one thing that always stuck with me was, like, I want to provide an insight and take the audience into the world where they're always wondering. And I feel like sometimes that doesn't get said enough, where people are like, when people are watching the games with me, they're always like, oh, like, what's going through the pitcher's head, like, is he nervous here, what, like, and I can relate to certain situations like that. Obviously I might not always be right, but I can relate it to what I experienced when I was 60 feet 6 inches. So yeah, and it's kind of grown, and I've done some pre and post games with the Toronto Blue Jays, with the big club, and that's been fun as hell too, man. I mean, it's honestly, anytime you get asked to do stuff like that, and um uh it's, to me, it's cool. I feel like the Blue Jays are a big part of me, and anytime I'm able to contribute somehow, some way, I definitely never turn it down.
Well, honestly, man, I'm a big fan of the pod, and I was always a big fan of you when you were on the bump, so this is
Thank
pretty
you.
cool. Um, we do have a bunch of listener questions. I know we mentioned that before we hit record here, but we'll get to that afterwards. We'll throw to Adam for that. So let's start with your playing career. I want to talk to you about Dunedin, because you were a member of the Dunedin Blue Jays at the start of your pro career. Have you been at the new facility there? No, you
I
haven't.
haven't.
Just heard
No.
about it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask how it compares, but maybe even if you could just
Well,
talk about what you went into back when you first started in Dunedin, which was what, I think 2006 is when you were there?
yes, 2000, actually, no, 2005, when I got drafted.
Right.
I lasted 2 weeks in Auburn, New York, where that's where our short season team was at, and I made one start and then got called up to Dunedin. So I was there in 2005 towards the end. And obviously, when you're when you're uh, a younger player, and you're
You were just
uh,
happy to be there, I'm guessing.
exactly, yeah. And we were coming Cal State Fullerton, where we played baseball. It's a bunch of blue collar type of baseball players that we didn't have the most luxurious weight room in the world. So when I walked into Dunedin, I was like, whoa, this is cool. But obviously, looking at what the pictures of what it looks like now,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's a thousand times on, like it's like this gym is all of a sudden on steroids, it just it's out of this world, the type of stuff that they have in there. But I think when I was there, we had one, maybe two treadmills, an elliptical, three bikes, and maybe like two squat racks. So
Right.
yeah, it was a little different, obviously, than what it looks like now. But I think they did a really good job, obviously, being able to manage 30 guys and getting their gym time and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't know any better. So obviously now the way that the game has grown and how much emphasis they put into that performance aspect of baseball now. I feel like you're just going to continue to see the trend. Obviously, Dunedin right now is, everything I've heard, is one of the top, places in all of baseball. And I'm sure the next team is probably going to top that one. And it's just going to continue to trickle on down. But that's good. I mean, you do need good places. You need something like that. If you're putting out a product that you're paying a lot of money to and you want to keep them healthy, so you got to do whatever it takes. And it looks like they put that money into that.
It must be cool to kind of see how far baseball has come in that sort of
Mm-hmm.
aspect. You look at the Blue Jays and they've got their high performance department, they've got their mental performance department. They really are investing money in the players' health and physical well being. Um, Obviously, this was important when you were starting out, but maybe different emphasis on different things, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Before it was, I just feel like the mental side of the game, with with mental health illness and players being more outspoken about it, obviously has created this huge trend, and it's a great trend, where teams now have somebody that you can actually,
Because it was more on you when you started, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I came from Cal State Fullerton, where we had a great guy in Ken Ravisa, who's kind of like the guru of the mental side of the game. And he passed away a few years ago. And I'm sure he would be like completely blown away with the way baseball has gone, and the trend that it's taken over. But it's good. It's again, it's good. The players have options now. They have things that they can, they have somebody that they can talk to. They have a nutritionist and all this high performance
Mm-hmm.
type of stuff that they can, okay, what is it that I can do better? Where can I get better? So there's really no excuse. I look at that weight room in Dunedin and I'm like, man, you would have to like drag me out of here, because it's just, I
Yeah.
enjoy that. For me as a player, I enjoyed that part of it, the preparation. Obviously, you enjoy going out there and competing, but the preparation was always the most uh interesting and fun part about the game, because there's just so much stuff that I wish fans would see that goes behind closed doors, right? That you're getting ready for, the video that you're watching, the notes that you're taking, the meetings that you're in, and stuff like that. So all that part of it was always fun to me, and it just what makes being in the big leagues, it just tells you, being in the big leagues, how hard it is, and how hard it is to stick there for the guys that do it, for 8+ years.
So you mentioned this, right? You were drafted first round, 2005. You were a highly touted prospect. I'm very curious if the prospect rankings were quite as prevalent back then. I mean, we've been lucky enough here on the walk off to chat with over 30 plus guys in the Blue Jays organization coming up the prospect ranks and the minor leaguers over the year. And although they are all very focused young men on getting to the major leagues, that's obviously the big goal here, and they're all working towards it, but they also all know where they rank on these prospect lists. They're all aware of it, right? And I know both Semro Burse and Jordan Groshans both brought up when we were talking to them that they make concerted efforts to kind of not store that information in their head. Like, obviously, you hear it, the information's out there, but they try and find a way to compartmentalize it and not dwell on it. Was this an obstacle in 2005?
No, because social media wasn't big, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's crazy what social media has done, to anything, to any sport, to
Yeah.
any ranking, to any team ranking. You got 9 and under teams being ranked. You got, you know 5-year-olds being offered scholarships. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's social media, and everyone's aware of it, and you can honestly, pick up your phone and look up where you're ranked and look up everything. When in 2005, yeah, there was an iPhone out, but social media wasn't that big, and if you wanted to see your ranking, you had to wait for that Baseball America once a month kind of magazine for it to come out, and it'd be laying in the clubhouse somewhere. But no, I didn't really think about it too much. Again, when I got drafted, I feel like I had my head on my shoulders pretty good, where I was like, you know what, there's a lot of work to be done. Just because I was drafted, just like in college, nothing's going to be handed to me, and that's kind of the way that I approached it. And I knew I was going to hit some bumps, and I did, and I'm glad I was able to overcome them. But I overcame them because of the thought process that I learned at Cal State Fullerton.
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Just that information in general these days is so much more available. I mean, teams have had scouting reports forever in
Mm-hmm.
baseball, but obviously analytics seem to hit new heights every year, and there's more information available every year. How much information was available when you were pitching? And pitchers do have access to more info now than when you pitched, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, they do. And the type of information that we'd have, I was fortunate enough to work with three pitching coaches, in Brad Orangeburg, Bruce Walton, and obviously Pete Walker. And the amount of information that they would have too, because they'd be in there with you in that video room grinding away, and you kind of go off of them. You bounce your notes off of them, and they bounce their notes off of to you, and you kind of just go vice versa, and you kind of come up with a game plan. But the biggest thing for and I feel like now there's so much thinking in the game, and it's changed a little bit, right? But I mean, I had the greatest teacher of them all, and in just watching in 2009 and Roy Halladay, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously I knew I wasn't going to be a Roy Halladay, but just the way that he approached the game, the way he prepared, I got to witness all of that in the clubhouse, and when he'd go out there and execute, that guy would get mad if he missed, a pitch by a few inches, and that's how much it mattered to him. Where for me, it was like, all right, I'm a young rookie trying to find my place in this rotation. I'm gonna go out there and let my game speak for itself, and kind of not try and do too much, because everyone would always tell me, like, the veteran guys, the Vernon Wells of the world, the Aaron Hills of the world, they'd always be like, man, like, you have such great stuff, you know, try being in the zone a little bit more, and let your stuff play out, and you're going to be nasty. So that was kind of my mentality, and you sprinkle a little bit from the veteran guys, you sprinkle a little bit of Roy and me in the mentality. I feel like I wanted to go 9 innings every time I saw him, go complete game too. So you just take a lot of information as a young pup, and that's what I did, and I tried every start to get better and better.
How much information did you try to get on a hitter? All that you could possibly get, or were you a little bit more of, you know what, tell me a couple of their weaknesses and I'll work to my strengths kind of guy?
Yeah,
Okay.
because that one, where just tell me a little bit of the weaknesses. Tell me how, if he's coming in hot, what are his hot zones, which ones are his cold zones, and that's kind of what we based everything off of. And if you say, hey, he's hitting a changeup really well, I have a really good changeup. I just can't stop throwing it now. I have to find a better way to set it up, and
Mm.
that's kind of how I would go about it. All right, I'm going to jump ahead, and then I'm going to show that changeup, or I'm going to show that changeup early and then finish him, hard in, whatever it was. So, and I feel like the game should still be like that. It shouldn't be an overthinking process, because these guys nowadays have such great stuff that sometimes it's pretty frustrating when you're watching guys with, 95, 96, 97 miles per hour, and they're overthinking everything, and they're trying to be too fine. A guy that comes to mind for me is Kikuchi. He's a guy that throws the ball so hard, and when he's in the zone and he lets his stuff play, he's that much better than everyone. He's elite in my eyes. Just because
Mm-hmm.
it's coming from the left side, and it's 97, 98, and for me, it's when he tries to get too fine that you see a little bit of of his struggles. So yeah, I mean, I went out there and pitched my game, and if I had to make adjustments on the fly, I made them on the fly.
Can I jump
There
in
is
here,
such. Sorry, yeah.
Scott? I have a question because I know you mentioned the Roy Halladay influence on you and how you wanted to go out and pitch complete games, and I believe you do have 6 or 7 complete games to your record at this point. What is the fatigue factor like as you go out for that eighth, ninth inning in a ball game? Because I mean, let's be honest. Nowadays, if a pitcher pitches 9, that's like pitching 2 games in a row for most starters, right? Um, so like, is it soreness in your arm? Is it exhaustion? Like, do you notice it at all, or like,
Oh
what's the
no.
impact?
And in the eighth and ninth inning, I felt like you get an extra jolt.
Yeah.
For me, I did. Yeah, when you're on a roll and you know you're deep into the game, you're in the seventh, you're in the eighth, and you're like, ooh, okay. And then you literally, it's such a hard thing to explain because your body starts feeling it, and and that's the cool thing about it, right? I mean that we're able to talk about it here because that it's a great question. Nobody really ever asked that, but it's like you get a sudden jolt. It's like your body just jolts up, and you're like, okay, I have a chance to finish the game off. And for me, I took a lot of pride. I wanted to give the bullpen the day off every fifth day. If I could do it, I was gonna go out there and do it. And yeah, I mean your body's definitely not feeling sore, your arm's not feeling sore. It's the next day or maybe a couple days after that you're like, whoa, like I'm a little sore. But again, we had such a good training staff that they'd get you back on your feet and you were ready to go in your fifth day.
So
The
that like
next day, did you feel it more? Let's say over from 6 innings to 9. Is there a difference physically in your body the next day?
Um, yeah, there is. Yeah, you feel a little bit exhausted and a little bit tired. Yeah, most definitely, especially if we're jumping into like the 115 pitch
Right.
range, right? And but
Which they
again,
don't do anymore.
yeah, they don't. And when you think about it, I mean, I feel like the human body wasn't made to do
No.
that. So when you're pushing it to those limits, um, yeah, for me, yeah, it was just like a full day of like body soreness. But again, you're in the cold tub, in the hot tub, you're doing the things that you're you, you're taught to do to so that you can recover and be ready for your next start.
That's interesting. That the way you described getting a jolt for that eighth and ninth inning. I'm a big fan of like the 5,000 meter race at the Olympics. And it's kind of the same thing where it's like 12 and
Yeah.
a half laps around. And for the first like 10 or 11, they're kind of just jogging and pacing themselves. And then by the time they get to that last lap or two, it's almost like a dead sprint. And it's like,
Yeah.
where do these guys even find that energy? But
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. No, and it's crazy because yeah, for me, at times I would typically kind of be a bit of have a bit of a slow start, and then all of a sudden you start picking up your rhythm, you start picking up your tempo, and you get on a roll, and you look back and you're like, whoa, we're in the seventh inning, and I'm only at 80 pitches. All right, I smell this,
nice.
and I'm gonna continue to go out there and do what I have to do, and not try and change the game plan again unless it needed to be changed. But
Mhm.
when you're that deep into the game, and you're dominating a team, the other team definitely knows.
That's pretty cool.
So getting the call up to the big leagues, I mean, obviously that's always been a big deal, but it's been pretty cool this year as a fan because I know we watched both Seattle and Baltimore record the reactions of their top prospects, right? Julio
Mm-hmm.
Rodriguez with the M's, Adley Rutschman with the O's when they were given the news that they were being called up to the big leagues. Obviously, this was not something that was being done even a year ago, right? Take me back to March 30th, 2009. How did Cito Gaston let you know that you made the team that year, and what was that experience like?
Well, that spring training was a bit of a mystery, because I came in with the chance to win a rotation spot, and I struggled big time the first few starts, big time, to where obviously I was pulled aside and they said, "Hey, you need to make some changes, but you need to stick with us." And that was Brad Orangeburg who said, "Hey, we're gonna hammer this out. I know you have good stuff, and we have to kind of crack that code. What is it gonna take?" So he's like, "You got to trust me. You're going to be here early. We're going to do early work, and we're going to get your body working the right way, and we're going to do your mechanics and kind of go from there." So they gave me one start. I did well, because I was getting close to being sent down halfway through spring training, and and then they're like, "Okay, we're going to give you another one. Go out to Sarasota against the Cincinnati Reds, who were there at the time. I don't know if they still are. No, they're not. They're in Arizona. And I did really well. And then I kind of earned that third start. And I think we went to Kissimmee to face the Houston Astros. And that's kind of what put the nail in the coffin, the last nail. And yeah, I mean, in spring training, they usually set up all the luggage bags, and you see the tags. You know who's going. Obviously, Roy Halladay, Vernon Wells, Alex Rios, Aaron Hill, you name it. You know you see all the names, and you're like, man, like I wish I could have one of those, but I don't see my name. And yeah, we're getting ready to break. Either I was going to AAA or I was going to go with the big league team. And I think our exhibitions games were in Jupiter that year against the Marlins, I want to say. And I get called in the office, and I really didn't know what to expect. I wasn't sure if I had won a job, or you're nervous. You're like, okay, what's going to come out of Cito's mouth? And I remember him sitting me down. He was like, "Hey man, you had such a great spring training, and it started off slow, but man, the way you got better was awesome to see." And he's like, "To tell you the truth, you know what did it for me? There was the last game you pitched, you had bases loaded, and I still remember this game perfectly. He's like, you had bases loaded and you got out of it with no runs. Like, it's like you bared down and you said, this is my job. He's like, so congratulations, you've made the team. And I was like, whoa,
That's pretty cool.
like it was cool. It was a cool moment. Again, yeah, you wish that it was on tape. It was nothing like what they do now, and all the, like, some coaches like pull jokes and stuff like that, but he
Yeah.
was like straightforward. Obviously Cito is a little bit of old school, he's gonna let you know
Yeah.
right away, like, hey, get ready. And I remember Brad Orangeburg being there and gave me a big hug. And there's just so many emotions. You don't know if you want to cry, you don't know if you want to scream aloud F yeah, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to cuss in this podcast or not.
Yeah, you go ahead.
But there's so many emotions, so I don't know what to do, what to say at the time. I'm like, man, like, all right, so where the hell's my luggage bag? I can't wait to get it, But I remember one of the things, and Brian Butterfield was in there, and he said, go call mama, and go call your pops, and tell them that you're going to be Cito said you're going to be starting this game, so make sure your family's ready to roll. And I was like,
Very
okay.
cool.
So yeah, I mean, it was I don't know, 8 a.m 9 a.m in Florida that day. And obviously the day's just getting started here in Southern California. And I called my mom. She's a school bus driver. And yeah, she was ecstatic. She didn't have any kids in the bus, but she was let out a loud scream. And my dad was asleep still, and I said, hey man,
Your mom
like,
let out the F yeah.
and yeah, my dad obviously, who had a big he inspired me a lot and had a big doing and what I was able to accomplish as a big leaguer. I mean, so many nights of playing catch with him and doing all the stuff. He played a big role, and to be able to say that to him, that I was going to be a big leaguer, and him being half asleep, and he's like, wait, what? I was like, pack your bags, man, I'll see you in Toronto. I'm starting against Detroit in the last game. And it was just such a cool moment that I got to share with him.
Especially after you must have sort of counted yourself out when you were struggling, right?
I did, yeah. I mean, when you look at the amount of talent around you, and you look at guys doing so well, and you're like, man, like, godly, I'm a piece of shit right now. And but again, it was like, that's the way baseball is. And it the challenges it throws at you mentally more than it does physically, because physically I knew I could do it. I mean, I had a great arm, I knew I had great stuff. It's just the mental part of being able to put everything together. And also credit to them, credit to Brad Orangeburg, Bruce Walton, who was the pitching coach, or the bullpen pitching coach, and for them to pulling me aside and say, hey, you got to commit to this, we got to do this, and we believe in you. And that kind of gave me the confidence to kind of go forward.
Did you go into
sorry.
that spring training camp like feeling like, okay, I have a shot at breaking camp with the team?
I knew I had a shot. Yes, I did. I mean,
So
the rotation was coming in with so many question marks,
right,
and
some open spots for you.
yeah, and I had just gotten added to the 40-man roster, I believe, that off season. So it was my protection year, and I mean, I was like, man, if it's gonna be a guy, it can probably be me. they would hate to waste a roster spot
Of
having
course.
to add somebody rather than somebody that's there already.
So then, early in that spring training with your struggles, did it just feel like you were letting this opportunity get away?
Oh yeah.
Like it must have felt
Oh
like
man.
Oh
so
yeah.
hard every time
Oh
you
yeah.
struggled. You're like, well, I'm just blowing it right now. But I mean,
Oh yeah.
kudos to you. Yeah, like you said, you turned it back.
Yeah, and again, you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you see that dream so close,
Mm-hmm.
and you want it so bad that I think um, I was trying to do too much and just put a lot of pressure on myself rather than just kind of sitting back and saying, you know what, let it come to me, like it's gonna be okay. But again, those struggles are part of baseball sometimes, and that's the beauty of this sport. You love it and you hate it sometimes.
It's funny, like the way you just described that. It's like when you thought, okay, I have a chance to make break this spring training with the club. You're trying too hard. You're struggling, and then once you say, "Oh, not this year. I'm gonna get sent down to AAA," then you almost like relax and you start pitching better, right? You get out of your
Yeah.
head, and things turned around. So
Yeah,
it's
because
funny.
at the end of the day, I was like, you know what do I have to lose? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I still get to play baseball in AAA and continue to get better. And obviously,
Mhm.
yeah, the dream is to be a big leaguer. But I'm like, all right, take a little bit of pressure off, and let's just go out there and dominate. And I know what I got to do. I put in the work behind closed doors. Now I just got to go out there and execute it, which I did for 3 or 4 straight starts, and that was what did it.
Pitching coaches blow my mind. You know, it's the amount of times where I'm just like, man, the Rubik's Cube that they are completing on some pitchers to figure it out and to have the confidence in your eye as a coach to know that this guy's got it and we got to tweak some things. Like, it's really impressive, you
It
know?
is impressive, but also those guys put in a lot of work, and they know what you know. You look at the body of work of what Pete Walker has been able to accomplish. You get a
Mm-hmm.
Robbie Ray who nobody pretty much wanted. I mean, any
I
team could have
know.
had him.
Yeah.
Um, and then he goes and kind of turns him around. But it's also you know, I'm sure if you asked him, he's like, I don't want any credit, because at the end of the day, it still has to come from within the player and how much information he's
100%.
willing to receive and how much he's willing to change. You know, Ross Stripling, another guy, you know, that made some delivery changes. They picked up on something, they made the adjustment, and boom, he took off. So it's all on the player and the way he receives it. There's some guys that say, I don't want to hear it, you know, like I'm gonna keep doing me. And you know, that's why it's important not only to know your mechanical side of it, but to have a great communication with your guys, which is what Pete seems to have, and everyone seems to love him for that. So, um, so yeah, so it just, you know, you rarely find guys that are good at both, you know,
Mm-hmm.
communicating and keep you in the loop. And this is when we need to hammer out. So when you have a guy like that, you definitely have to continue to pick his brain every single day and just have those conversations with him,
Yeah.
because obviously he's doing it right.
I love that. I love that. So, baseball fans, we can't help but let the human out in us. You know, like we're always looking for the whys and the explanation of stuff. So I've got an example here of Lourdes Gurriel Jr., right? Consistently has cold starts. He has a career OPS under 600 in April, but as soon as he hits June, it's over 950. It's wild. And fans, we're all like, well, he's better in warmer weather. The ball travels further. But then there's other examples like Randall Grishik, right? Where he's just like, he kills it every April. His OPS is over 850 in April for his career, and then he cools off. R.A. Dickey's knuckleball, right? Just a joy to watch in August, but we're pulling our hairs out in early May. How often does weather actually affect a ball player's performance, and how much of it is just mental and individually based? And did you pitch better in a certain time of the year?
And you know what, for me personally, I didn't try to put that focus in it because I didn't want to be mentally psyched out like, oh my god, it's cold, like I'm gonna pitch like shit, or oh my god, it's too hot, like. So it was more just, hey, whatever the weather is, I got to go out there and overcome whatever it is. But yeah, sometimes for hitters and for pitchers, yeah, I played in the Eastern League, and trust me, it is freezing there in April, freezing, and it's tough for both sides. A lot of people like to say like, oh, pitchers have the advantage, but like, man, like, no, they don't. Like, you can barely feel your hand when you're out there. So so yeah, I think sometimes it plays a role. And also, I mean, you know, I've mentioned this on past podcasts. Like, you wish the offense could click for 162 games, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to happen. So hitters are gonna go through their ruts. They're gonna go through really, really hot streaks, and that's just the way baseball is. That's why I always, when I tweet out sometimes stuff about games, I'm like, ride the wave, just ride the wave. Don't ask
Hmm.
questions, especially in baseball. Just ride the wave, and that's good ball players do that. They know what they have to do, and especially when they're hitting the ball hard and doing stuff like that. So yeah, a guy like Gurriel, I mean, I'm sure he's when you're feeling confident in baseball, it makes a world of difference. And he seems to be confident. He knows what pitches he's looking for now, and he's going out there and putting up great at bats. A guy that you feel for is like Matt Chapman, who's man, he's like hit the ball so hard and right at guys, and that's just the way the game is sometimes. But
Yeah.
I'm sure as the season goes on, he'll catch a hot streak. And I guess the biggest thing for hitters, and what I've heard some of the great ones talk about is, when you're on a bad streak, you can't let it linger on for 8 straight games or anything like that. It's being able to put 2-3 bad games and then kind of get back on the horse again. So it's just the grind of 162 games. So yeah, I mean, right now the offense looks like they're really, really fun to watch.
Do players dislike when the media or social media brings up numbers like in June you do this, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know that." Now, great, it's in my head.
uh, I, you know what? Honestly, again, I think you ride the wave, and
Right.
I'm sure some players, yeah, when they mention that to them, they're like, all right, like that's cool, like so. Yeah, I'm sure they are already aware of the month that they struggle in, where they probably
Right.
put a little bit extra pressure on themselves to go out there and perform. But yeah, I mean, you wish a team could click the whole season, but it's nearly impossible. There's going to come a time with this Toronto Blue Jay team where the pitching is going to carry the offense, and then there's going to come a time where the offense
Hmm.
carries the pitching. And we're kind of seeing it right now where when the starters have given up runs, the offense has been hot, and it feels good as a starter when you're like, all right, I gave up 2-3 runs, but I still have a 3-run lead. Where early in
Yeah.
the season it was like 2-1, and everyone's holding their breath every single game, and you're like, oh my god, are they going to win this game? And
Yeah.
but that's the beauty of it.
So I know that for the most part, anyways, being named the opening day starter doesn't really mean all that much, but it is kind of a tip of the hat, if you will, right? From the organization to the starter, that you are the guy, right? And we watched Jose Barrios get that nod this year. In 2012, those honors went your way. What was that experience like, and what's it like taking the bump in front of a packed house at the beginning of the season when every team's fans have hope, right?
Yeah, no, it's honestly one of the coolest things that I ever experienced as a Toronto Blue Jay was opening day. Obviously, I never experienced the playoffs, so I don't know what that's like. But watching it in 2009 and 2010, watching opening days in Toronto at the Rogers Center from the dugout, and kind of telling yourself, man, one day I want to experience this. And for it to come true was beyond amazing. Again, I always tell my friends this, and I'm sure you guys have been. I don't know if you guys have been to an opening day, but I'm like, you guys don't understand. Dodger Stadium is cool, opening day. Anaheim, whatever. Toronto is like a straight party all day, game and night. It's just an all day thing. It's amazing. It's the atmosphere of it. Obviously, I didn't I um leading up to that game in 2011 when I got the opening day start. I was like probably more nervous than I was my debut, just because you knew it was going to be a packed house. And when I started walking through the tunnel and then out to warm up, and the whole crowd just went crazy, like they were already there, and just all of it, I soaked it all in, and it's definitely one of those memories that that's unforgettable.
Very cool. And I have been to an opening day, and you are right. It is just insane. It is so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what the coolest part is? Like I always tell everyone, when the Canadian national anthem plays, it's crazy. Like it's just
Yeah.
the fans go crazy. And yeah, I mean that game, it was cool because our team, I think we put up like, I don't know, 7-8 runs, I think, in the first inning off Carl Pavano, and we got off to a great start, and it kind of All right.
That puts you at ease, eh?
Oh, a little big time. You're still saying like, hey, I can't give up a huge inning, but I got to continue this momentum. I got to get these guys back in the dugout because they're seeing the ball really well. So it was honestly, it was cool. My mom was there, my sister was there, my dad couldn't make it, but yeah, it was honestly one of the coolest experiences I ever experienced as a J.
I love that. Okay, so I want to talk to you about bad tacos. So we're very superstitious here on the walk off, and we call injuries bad tacos because we do not want to mess with the baseball gods in any way, right? So Hinge and Ryu had a bad taco recently, going back on the IL, and I know, man, you have more experience with this than really any athlete should need to deal with. Would you give a little insight into kind of the mental side of dealing with injuries and what a guy like Ryu with a history of injuries is dealing with internally when you watch yourself go back on the IL and struggle with those?
Well, yeah, the IL is not fun. It really isn't. It's one of those things where you can't wait to get out there, and sometimes maybe you push your body a little bit too much, and you kind of force your way back into the rotation, and when
Mm-hmm.
you probably shouldn't be in there. This is what we live for, right? We live to pitch every fifth day, and you take that very serious. So it's just unfortunate with Rio, and he does have a history of that. But we've also seen the flashes when he is pretty good. And I've said this all season: if we can get 5 innings out of Ryu, that's a good start. If we can get
Mm-hmm.
6, 7, man, now we're sitting pretty, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's just he's got a lot of miles in him. He's a guy that's been successful. He's been a Cy Young candidate at one point in his career. So we the stuff is there, but being
Mm-hmm.
being um being hurt and sometimes for me when we were there, you'd get sent to Dunedin to rehab because the team's on the road, they got stuff they got to do, and you know down in Florida they have somebody that's watching your everyday move. It's a lonely feeling. You feel like the team, your family gets taken away from you, and you're just like sitting there, you're rehabbing, you're watching the games on TV, you're rooting for the guys. It's definitely not a cool feeling, but I think if you like looking back at it, some of the stuff that I could have done better was maintain the positive perspective and being like, okay, I got to do this to and be patient. That's the hardest thing for us athletes is be patient, because once you start feeling good, you're like, okay, I can ramp it up a little bit more. All right, I feel good. Boom, make the call. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Where sometimes the patience is the key sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
looking more at the okay, it happened early in the season for Ryu. It happened early in the season, but this team's going to need me for the long haul. So maybe it's better that I kind of take my time, and hopefully he does, because those starts in August and October and September are going to be really, really key.
They are absolutely. Um, so we don't want to keep you too long here. Before we go to listener questions, I do have one last question for
Yeah.
you, more about expanded playoffs. Basically, is the question, and I ask because one of the big reasons being pushed by ownership to expand the playoffs was to encourage more teams to put competitive products on the field. We're roughly one third through this 2022 season, and you look at the American League, they have 5 teams with a winning record. The Red Sox, right now, if the playoffs were to start, would make the playoffs as an under 500 team. Is this concerning?
Um, I like the idea behind it. Like you said, I
Mm-hmm.
think you want to see owners go out there and put up a competitive team for your organization, for your city. I think when you see teams not pour the money into it, it's like, come on, like
Yeah.
this can't keep happening, and it's clearly some of the same teams over and over and over. And what do? We reward them with the first pick overall, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's like, come on, like something's got to change. But yeah, no, I don't think it's concerning at all. The Red Sox are a
Okay.
good team. They're solid.
Yeah, they are. No,
And
they are.
they have they've had their injury bugs too hit them, and obviously they're missing Chris Sale, their ace, and
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's gonna be fun. The AL East, I feel like, is always an adventure. Um,
Yes.
you just never know, because the Red Sox are that type of team that can catch fire, and next thing you know, they find themselves back in it. The Tampa Rays
Yeah.
they're just the Rays. They're just you don't know who's on their team, but they're always just solid.
I don't even get it. Like, I don't even understand it.
It's
Like,
crazy.
it's
It's crazy.
unreal.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the way, but clearly they, Kevin Cash and company do a great job in getting the best in maximizing the potential of their players. And then obviously the Yankees are the Yankees this season. They just don't seem to lose. And
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that cold streak. Like, I'm like, where is this 5, 6, 7 game losing streak? Because the Jays won all those games, and it's like they didn't gain any damn ground.
I know they gained one game. I know.
And it's like, wow, like it again, it tells you how hard this division is, because I find myself looking at other divisions and where they stack up, and I'm like, geez, like the Blue Jays would be, in first place in this division. They'd
Yeah.
be fighting in between first and second in this division. So, but it's just the way it is. But I'm the playoffs is going to be really fun now with the expanded playoffs, and obviously it gives. I'm sure a lot of Blue Jay fans were heartbroken last season when they didn't get in. So so it obviously
You
it's
can
going to
add
be
me
a
to
little
that
bit.
list. Yeah.
It's going to be a little different, and it was a definite punch in the gut for everyone. I mean, even for me, I was like, man, this team is so exciting. Like, how does it end right here? Like, I want to see what a Vladdy and a Bo can
Yeah.
do in the playoffs. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't think it's concerning at all.
I like to hear that. I like to hear that because it is still early. There is lots of baseball left to be played, and I do think that teams like the Red Sox and the White Sox and stuff like that, it is all going to even out in the end,
Yeah.
and it should be more competitive. But I know
Mm-hmm.
you look at it right now in this 1/3, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah. 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 And
Man,
again, maybe like with the weather changing and stuff like that, it's
mhm.
going to heat up here soon. So who knows? Maybe the ball start carrying a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see.
I love how the Tampa Bay Rays has become that team where for a while there, people would count them out, and now it's just like everyone across baseball, no matter what happens, they're like, yeah, the Rays are going to be there. And you know
Yeah.
what's even more crazy is forget about the players that constantly leave and the pitching that constantly leaves and this incredible farm system that they have. But their executives and their front office gets poached all the time too, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It don't matter. I don't know what they're doing
It's
there. I
wild.
wish I knew, but yeah, it's really interesting. And there it's ever since I can remember, they've always been that pesky team that just one can pitch, and two, they just get timely hitting all the time, especially at the Trop. It's like that place is just made for them.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go to listener questions here. We don't want to take too much of your time here, Ricky. Thank you so much for being so generous
Yeah,
with your
absolutely.
time. We really
Yes, thank
appreciate it,
you.
man. We're really excited. Okay, Adam, all yours.
Okay, first one comes in from Mustard Tiger in our Discord. Says, do you have any aspirations to get back into baseball through coaching or management?
You know what? It's something that I put a thought into it. But right now, having three little ones, I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old at home. And to me, that's more important than anything. And I just know if you go into coaching and all that stuff, it's like you're away from them. And I'm enjoying that part of being a father, picking up
Totally.
from school, dropping them off, all that good stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, no, but maybe in the future, if the right opportunity presented itself, I'd definitely consider it.
Very good. All right, next one comes in from Danica on Instagram. Says, in your 5-year career at the MLB level, you had 3 different managers: Cito Gaston, John Farrell, and John Gibbons. Now Charlie Montoyo is in his 3rd season. Can you speak to the impact or feeling in the clubhouse when a manager is replaced? And then lastly, what grade would you give Papa Charlie this year?
um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I went through 3 managers, which is crazy thinking, but we were actually talking about it this morning. Three managers, 3 pitching coaches. So obviously the dynamic of the team changes every
Mm-hmm.
year, right? I mean, everyone has a different mentality, the way they manage and stuff like that. So yeah, every year it changed. Obviously, we wanted to make the playoffs. That was the number one goal, but we didn't. And yeah, when you're able to get to know somebody for longer than a year, and you're able to share, the goods and the bad, like Charlie has, it means a lot. He's going through it just, from the managerial side, he's going through it with you as a player. He knows what it's like. He was a player himself, so he's able to, speak up on certain things that go on. And He honestly, up to this point, he's done a good job. And you know, the Jays always somehow deal with some kind of injury bug, and they did with Teoscar Hernandez, Danny Jansen right away, right off the start of the season. So when you're able to um, guide them through those moments, and you know, in the bullpen, kind of playing those close games and stuff like that, he's pushed the right buttons, you know. And you know, I love the what lately the pinch hitting that moves that he's made, especially here in Anaheim. He made some really
Yeah.
really good ones. It's like he forced Joe Madden. Joe Madden is like the master of it. I feel like, of getting in other people's heads, and it's almost like, you know, Charlie crossed him up. So I'd probably give him. I don't know. I mean, are they looking for a grade?
Well,
I think
I mean,
I think he's done a great job.
okay.
I mean, the record speaks for itself.
For sure.
And I'm sure if you ask him, there's probably things that he can get better at. And that's just the way that we are as athletes and as competitors. We're always looking on ways to improve.
Do you?
You're so right about that Anaheim series. It was
Yeah.
like he made zero mistakes.
Yeah.
And you know what? Not every time you put a pinch hitter in, it works out. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
fun series when it came to his moves. Absolutely.
All right. Next one comes in from Alistair. You were part of the team when they wore. This is a. You were part of the team when they wore their ugliest jerseys and when they started wearing their nicest ones. But whenever I see you on TV, you always have the ugly one framed behind you. Why?
Because it's the one from my debut. That's why.
All right.
I mean, it's not going anywhere, right? I mean, that's just the way. I mean, I can't change that, and I didn't
Yeah.
know any better. I was, hey, it's a big league jersey. That's all that matters. So,
No, it's
but yeah, that's the reason why. I mean, it obviously means a lot.
sentimental
It's
for sure.
yeah, it's the one I wore at the first game. It's along with the lineup card, and then obviously over here to my left is the All-Star game one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Very nice.
I you know what? When we brought out the blue uniforms, and I remember being in those meetings, and obviously we were pushing hard for them because we really wanted to get back to those old roots.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, in 2012 is when I had my worst season, so there's not really many good memories I
That's
have
fair.
from the blue jerseys.
That's fair. That's fair. So that black one behind you, then, that's your one from your actual MLB debut?
Yeah, it
Very
is.
cool.
Very cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Alistair, you can shut up about it then. All right. Two more. So this one comes in from Evelyn. She says, Bo and Vladdy have obviously a very special relationship, but this week we saw Ryan Baracki get traded. Baracki and Jansen are also very, very close friends, and not everyone in pro sports is lucky enough to play with someone they consider family-level friendship. Who was your best friend during your time with the Jays, and are you still in touch with them?
Shoot, I had a lot. I mean, I got along with all of my teammates, and speaking to that, those traits and how close you can be. I remember obviously Travis Snyder, who was a really, really close friend of mine, and I remember we were in Seattle in his hometown, and he got traded like mid-game to the Pittsburgh Pirates for Brad Lincoln, I believe. So that was tough when you're in the clubhouse and you're watching him pack up, because we had experienced so much as young players, young prospects. He was drafted right after me the year after, and he was coming in as a highly, highly touted high school player. And we shared so many memories, and yeah. And then next thing you know, he's being traded. I wasn't pitching that day, so I came in the clubhouse, and just the emotion of that, of having to say bye, and, you know, he's going to a different team and stuff like that. It's always tough. That part is always tough. But as far as you know, best friends, I mean, shoot, I keep in touch with so many guys. I try to, but again, I think we're all fathers, or we're so far in our lives now with fatherhood, marriage, and all that stuff, that we're just, you know, any chance that we can get a little text here and there, it happens from time to time.
Very cool. All right, last one now comes from Craig. He says, Ricky Rowe, would love to see you on the 2-hour roundtable these guys do every Sunday night. And then goes on to say, never mind the politics of it, but 5 pitchers for the Rays came out this week refusing to support Pride Month on their jerseys. What effect do you think this will have on the Rays as a team? And then goes on to say, did you ever experience any major divisions similar to this between players during your time in Toronto? And if so, How did you as a team get past it? So you don't have to go into details of what the rifts might have been, but did you ever have any big divisions in the clubhouse, and how the team work to get past that?
No, I never did it. I never did. I mean, I've always kept an open mind. I'm very,
Of course.
I married a Canadian, and yeah, I mean, I'm all for inclusion, and I've been outspoken about it in the past, and my on my social media about the whole Black Lives Matter movement and all that
Hmm.
stuff, and I'm all for human rights and stuff like that. So I never really experienced anything in the clubhouse where there was some kind of division. Obviously, I feel like nowadays it's talked about more, and it's and we're trying to include everyone and stuff like that. Back when I was playing, there was really there was
Hmm.
really nothing like
Yeah.
that. It still wasn't really a thing. So um, obviously the discussion wasn't really there. But I'm glad that there's a discussion about it. And again, for me, hey, I, I want to welcome everyone should feel
Of
good about
course.
themselves going to a game and stuff like that, and being able to enjoy it just like everyone else. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm all for human rights and having a voice in that. And so yeah, so you just hope that the conversation continues, and it continues to grow, because it's going to be easier for players to come out in the future, um and that'll be a good thing.
Couldn't have said it better
Very
myself.
well put. Yep.
Ricky, thanks so much for your time today. This was awesome getting to chat with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
thank you
this was so
guys.
much
This is
fun,
fun.
man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.